Captain Hayes stood at the observation window of the cargo vessel Pathfinder, watching the stars spin slowly past. His face was dark and tired. Behind him, alarm lights blinked red across the control panels. The ship was dying and knew it. The solar flare had come from nowhere. One moment the crew was traveling through empty space toward the cargo station at 9. The next moment, the sun exploded with energy that tore through their navigation systems like a knife through paper. The communications array was destroyed. The backup systems were destroyed. Everything that kept the Pathfinder connected to the rest of the galaxy was gone. Now there was only silence. Turned away from the window, Engineer Murphy sat at her station, sweat dripping down her face. She had been working without rest for 14 hours, trying to fix something that could not be fixed. Her hands moved across the controls with the skill of someone who had been fixing ships for 20 years. But even her skill meant nothing against this kind of damage. "Talk to me," said. Looked up, her eyes were hollow. "The main power core is stable for now, but I am burning through fuel reserves faster than I calculated. At this rate, we have maybe 30 days of basic life support. After that, the air processors fail. After that, we all stop breathing." Closed his eyes. 30 days. It took 6 weeks to reach the nearest station if everything went right. The nearest station was also in space, which meant it was closed to human ships. Nobody came to rescue ships that crashed near the expanse. Nobody came because there was nobody to come. The door to the bridge slid open. Medic Dr. Aaron Cole entered, moving quickly. His medical uniform was stained with something did not ask about. Behind Aaron came the ship's technician. Both looked like people who had been running toward bad news. "Captain, we have a problem," Aaron said. "The medical supplies are damaged. The radiation from the flare got through the shielding. Half of our medicines are contaminated. If anyone gets seriously hurt, I do not have much to work with." Nodded. "Same with the food storage. I found radiation damage in 3 of the supply compartments. We are looking at maybe 45 days of rations if we cut everyone down to half portions. Less if anyone needs extra nutrition for healing." Stood very still. 30 days of power, 45 days of food, 30 days of clean air. The math was simple. They would run out of power before they ran out of food. When the power died, the life support died. When the life support died, everyone aboard the Pathfinder died. "All right," said. His voice was calm, even though his hands wanted to shake. "Everyone listen carefully. We are going to assume we have 28 days. I am adding 2 days to all calculations as a safety margin. That is our new reality." "But 28 days is not enough time," said. She was young, only 3 years out of the academy. "We cannot reach any station in 28 days. "I know," said. "I want you to focus on one thing and one thing only. I want you to find every scrap of power we have, strip it out if you need to. Divert everything to the engines and basic life support. Shut down non-essential systems. We are going to get every ounce of thrust this ship can give us." "That will only buy us a few extra days," said. "Then we buy a few extra days," replied. "Aaron, start rationing the food and medicine right now. Cut everyone to half portions. Make sure the crew knows why. Tell them the truth. We have survived worse than this." Had not survived worse than this. He was not sure anyone had survived this, but saying it out loud made it feel less impossible. "I need you to do something unusual," said. "I want you to scan this entire sector. Look for anything that should not be here. Dead ships, stations, outposts, emergency beacons, radio signals, anything at all. If someone else is nearby, we need to know." Moved to her station and started typing commands into the scanner. The 3 crew members moved with purpose now. They did not have hope, but they had something almost as good. They had a captain who was not giving up, and that was enough to make them move forward instead of falling apart. Returned to the window. The stars looked beautiful from here, cold and far away. The Pathfinder was so small against all that space. Just a tiny metal box carrying 5 people who were about to become very dead unless something changed. He thought about his wife on Earth. He thought about the decision he had made to take this cargo run instead of staying home. He thought about how she had asked him not to go, how she had said something felt wrong about this trip. Push the thoughts away. That path led nowhere useful. "Captain's" voice cut through the silence. Her fingers were frozen on her keyboard. "I am picking up something. It is very far away, but it is definitely there." "What is it?" asked. "I am not sure," said. Her voice was shaking. It looks like a distress beacon, but it is not human. I have never seen this technology before. Felt something shift in his chest. Not hope. He had learned long ago not to depend on hope, but something close to it. Something that whispered that perhaps they were not completely alone in this vast and empty section of space. Lock onto that signal, commanded. Full scan, tell me everything, where it is, how far away, how long it has been broadcasting. His fingers flew across the controls. Her face grew more confused as data appeared on her screen. Captain, that beacon has been broadcasting for 87 years. It is still strong, still transmitting. Whatever sent it is massive, really massive. Moved to look at the scanned data himself. Was right. The object out there was huge, and it was dead. Whatever it had been, it was not functioning anymore except for that beacon. Set a course, said. Full power to the engines. We are going to find out what that is. The dead ship hung in space like a tomb, stood in the airlock of the Pathfinder and stared at it through the small window. The vessel was massive, easily 4 times the size of his ship. Its hull was broken. Entire sections had been torn away by impact or weapons fire. The thing had been dead for a very long time. Had identified it as a research vessel. They were peaceful mostly. They did not attack humans on sight, but they did not help them either. They had their own space, their own rules, and humans were not welcome in it. Finding a ship out here was strange enough. Finding one this old and damaged was impossible. Sealed his helmet. We are going in, you have the bridge, do not let anyone panic, we are just going to look around. Be careful, said through the radio. Her voice crackled with static. We do not know what we are walking into. I know, replied. He was not careful, he was terrified, but being careful and being terrified were 2 different things. He grabbed hold of the magnetic line and pushed off from the Pathfinder. Dr. Aaron Cole and followed him across the void. The 3 of them moved slowly toward the dark ship. The airlock of the vessel was sealed. Found the manual override and used her tools to pull it open. Air did not rush out. There was no air to rush. The ship was completely dead. The interior was pitch black except for the light of their suits. They pulled themselves through the passage. Was thinking about leaving. About the stupidity of going into a dead ship when they needed to conserve power and air. But something kept pulling him forward. If this ship had been out here for 87 years and it had crashed 87 years ago, then there might be something inside that could help them. Found the hibernation bay first. Captain, she said, and her voice was very quiet, you need to see this. The hibernation pods were arranged in rows. Most of them were dark, their lights dead. But one pod near the center still glowed with a faint blue light. Inside the pod was a creature. It looked something like a humanoid, but not quite. Its skin was gray-blue. Its hands had 6 fingers. Its eyes were closed. Is it alive? Aaron asked. Moved her scanner over the pod. Numbers flashed on her display. Yes, the pod is maintaining basic life support, just barely. The power systems must be running on something very small. But yes, this thing is alive. Felt something shift in his understanding of what they were doing here. This was not about salvage anymore. This was about a living being that someone had left behind 87 years ago. Can we move it? Asked. Maybe, said, but we would need to be very careful. One mistake and we could kill it. Thought about 30 days of power. He thought about his wife on Earth. He thought about all the reasons they should leave this thing here and take what salvage they could find. Then he thought about what it meant to be human, to see something alive and leave it to die. Get it ready to move, said. Carefully, Aaron, make sure we can maintain its life support once we get it to the Pathfinder. Aaron said carefully, we do not have enough resources to keep a Pathfinder crew alive for 30 days. We definitely do not have enough to keep an alien alive as well. I know, said, get it ready. The pod was heavy. The 3 of them worked for nearly an hour getting it disconnected from the dead ship's power systems and ready to move. The lights of their suits made strange shadows in the darkness. The dead ship felt less like a tomb and more like a museum dedicated to failure. They carried the pod back to the Pathfinder, helped them get it through the airlock and into the medical bay. Dr. Aaron Cole stared at the sleeping alien and began to swear very quietly. This is not going to work, said. We do not know what this thing eats. We do not know how to maintain its systems. We do not even know if waking it up will kill it. Then we figure it out, said. Start with the basic vitals. What do we need to do to keep it alive? Aaron worked for 6 hours straight. He studied the pod, he studied the alien inside it, and he tried to understand what his medical knowledge could tell him about beings that were not human. Finally, he found something in the pod's controls, a readout, a guide written in the script. Translated it with help from the ship's database. The alien was unstable, the alien's name was. It took 2 days for to work out his language well enough to learn it. Had been a scientist, a researcher for the exploration program. His ship had crashed on a survey mission in forbidden space. When the rescue ships came to retrieve him, the government had decided he was too far gone, too contaminated by proximity to humans. They left him behind in the hibernation pod and never came back. That was 87 years ago. Understood this now, he had been in the pod for nearly a century. His world had moved on without him. His family was dead. Everyone he knew was gone. He sat in the medical bay of the Pathfinder and stared at nothing. Grief had a shape and wore it like a second skin. Left him alone at first. There was nothing to say to something like that. But 3 days later, something changed. Came to find in the engine room, where he was helping her run calculations on power usage. "The alien wants to talk to you," said. Translated, he says he has something that might help. Found in the medical bay, sitting on the edge of a medical bed. The alien had become more comfortable with the ship. He moved through it now without fear, though everyone watched him carefully. His crew did not trust him yet. Trust took time. Said through the translator device had rigged up. Says you want to help. The alien's large eyes focused on. His mouth moved, making sounds that the translator turned into words. "Your ship is dying. You are dying. I know this because I can see it on your faces. I can feel it in how everyone moves. I was trained as a systems engineer before I became a pure scientist. I can read your ship's problems. I can help." Sat down across from him. "Why would you help us? We are humans. You could let us die and be alone on a ship with more supplies." Was quiet for a long time. "Because I have been alone long enough. Because I died 87 years ago when my people left me behind. What I am now is something that came back from death, and I do not want to be alone anymore. And because you saved me even though you do not have enough to save yourselves. That is a thing I do not understand, but I want to understand it." Felt something shift in his chest. "All right, let us see what you can do." For the next week and worked together in the engine room. The alien had a brilliant mind. He understood engineering in a way that was different from knowledge, but just as deep. More importantly, he understood technology, and the Pathfinder's systems had been modified with some components. Things that could not fix, could understand. They worked 16 hours a day, would come to the bridge and find there working on calculations, would come to find, gesturing wildly as the translator tried to keep up with his rapid speech. They ate meals together. They sat on the bridge at night watching the stars. Told about his life before the crash, about his family, which had been large and loud and loving, about the research he had been doing, trying to understand why the galaxy seemed to be moving toward war between the big species, about how he had tried to tell his government that humans were not the monsters they thought they were. "I read your transmissions," said one night. "The ones from 87 years ago, from before the crash. I read them and I thought humans were violent and strange. Now I think we were just afraid of something we did not understand." "Are you not afraid now?" asked. "No," said. "Now I have seen what humans do when they are afraid. They save things. They do not destroy them. This is what I did not understand about your kind. You are fragile and short-lived compared to my people. But you are not cruel. You choose not to be cruel every day, even when it would be easier to be." On the 8th day of work, they made a breakthrough. Figured out how to reroute power through systems that had been offline for years. It was a complex solution that involved bypassing 3 damaged sections and rebuilding connections that had been burned out. When he finished, the Pathfinder's entire engine system hummed with new power. "How much did this buy us?" asked. Ran the calculations. Her eyes widened. 20 extra days, maybe more if we keep systems minimal. If we are careful, we might make it to the station now. Looked at, the alien's large eyes reflected the light from the control panels. He was tired. He had been working without stopping, pushing himself hard to prove he was worth saving. "Thank you," said. "I do not know what you wanted to prove, but you proved it." "I wanted to prove that I was not a useless thing left behind," said. "I wanted to prove that I could matter to someone other than my people. I think I have done that. But there is something else, something I need to tell you. The government, they will not want me alive. They left me to die for a reason." "Why?" asked. "Because I know too much about their plans," said quietly. I know that they have been trying to push humans away from the good systems. I know that they have been working with other governments to keep humanity from growing strong. I know that they think humans are too dangerous if they ever realize what they are truly capable of. I was going to tell my government I disagreed with them. Instead, my ship crashed, and they used it as an excuse to silence me. They left me in that pod because dead, I could not speak. Absorb this. So if we take you to any station, your government will know you are alive. Pathfinder's new communication system was weak, but it worked. Had spent 3 days rebuilding the array using parts salvaged from the dead ship. When he finally managed to send out a distress signal, he felt like he had won a small victory against an uncaring universe. He was wrong. The responses came back within hours. The first was from the Terran Colonial Authority, which was the governing body that controlled human ships in deep space. The message was brief and cold. It told that the Pathfinder had been operating illegally. They had entered a restricted zone without permission. They should have reported their location and situation immediately instead of trying to repair their systems in secret. There was more. The message said that crew was not authorized to be in this sector at all. The Pathfinder was now considered an illegal vessel. Hayes was to surrender command immediately and await trial. Deleted the message and sent out another distress call. This time, he included their exact coordinates and the list of everything they had salvaged. Maybe if he showed that they were just trying to survive, someone would help. 3 hours later, responses came from the High Council, the Collective, and the Dominion. All of them said the same thing. They could not provide assistance to a human vessel operating in restricted space. There were rules about such things. International space law, they called it. Humans would have to follow the rules like everyone else. There was more hidden in each message. Veiled threats. Warnings not to interfere with any refugee or political situation. Messages that everyone would understand once they decoded what was really being said. Sat on the bridge and read them all. His crew gathered around him. Nobody said anything for a long time. "This is insane," finally said. "We are dying out here. We have lost all communications. We are asking for help and they are treating us like criminals." "That is because we picked up," said quietly. "That is what all these messages are really saying. They do not care about us anymore. They only care that we have an aboard." Aaron looked confused. "But is alive. He is one of their people. Do they not want him back?" "No," said. He had figured it out by now. "They do not, because knows something they do not want known, and because we know that knows it, we have become a problem." The door to the bridge opened and entered. The alien had been working in the engine room. He had not heard the messages yet, but he could read faces. He looked at and waited. Told him what the messages said, listened without moving. When finished, the alien sat down slowly. "I am sorry," said. "I knew this would happen. I told you it would happen." "You did," agreed. "What I did not know was how quickly it would happen." The next hours were chaos. The crew wanted to surrender. They argued that he was just one alien. If they gave him up, the authorities would forgive them. They could make it to the station. They could survive. Aaron argued for it passionately. "I want to live. I want to see Earth again. I want to see my sister. If we keep that alien with us, we are all going to die out here." Argued against it just as passionately. "We cannot just give him over to die. That is not who we are. That is not what humans are supposed to be." Stayed quiet but could see the conflict in her eyes. She wanted to live too. They all did. Called a meeting with everyone. All 5 of them sat in the cargo bay because it was the only room that could fit them all comfortably. Was not invited. Had asked him to stay in the medical bay. "We have a choice," said. "We can give up. According to the law, according to the governments, according to everyone in authority, that is what we should do. We are expendable. A human cargo ship crew out in deep space, trying to survive, is not worth a political incident." "So we are just going to let him die?" asked. "I do not know yet," said. "That is what this meeting is about. What do we want to do? What can we live with? Because I am going to tell you something that nobody tells you when you join the colonial authority. They do not care about us. They never have. We are acceptable losses. We are people who went too far from home and got what was coming to us." He let that sink in. "The question is not whether we are going to die. We might all die anyway," continued. "The question is what we want to mean when we die. Are we just going to be a story about a ship that crashed in deep space? Or are we going to be the people who had a chance to do something right and took it?" Aaron was crying now. That is easy to say when you are the captain. You do not have people waiting for you at home. You are right, said. You are right, and I am sorry. I should not ask you to sacrifice for something that I believe in. But I am asking because I cannot do this alone. Nobody answered at first, stared at her hands, looked away. Finally spoke. I will stay, she said. I do not know why, I do not have a good reason, but I will stay. Was next. My sister went to the colonies. I have not heard from her in 5 years. Maybe she does not care if I live or die. Maybe I will stay anyway. Aaron took longer. He sat in his own pain and his own fear for a long time. Finally, he nodded. I am a medic. I swore an oath. It did not say anything about which species I had to save. I will stay. Felt something heavy lift off his chest. Not hope, but something close to determination. All right, he said. We stay, but we need a new plan. We cannot go to any station. We cannot go anywhere the authorities can reach us. So we are going to disappear. We are going to take this ship and we are going to find another option. How asked? I do not know yet, said, but we are going to figure it out. We have to. When told what they had decided, the alien was quiet for a very long time. Then he reached out and touched shoulder, the way he had learned that humans did. You are going to die for me, said. All of you, and I do not know how to thank you for that. Maybe we will not die, said. Maybe we will find a way out of this. Knew about the outpost. He had read about it in old databases before his crash. It was a research facility established by a group of scientists who disagreed with their government's expansion policies. They had been working in secret for decades, trying to prove that peaceful cooperation was possible between species. Nobody official knew about it. That was the point. The coordinates had been buried in a file that found while searching's damaged ship for any useful data. It took her 3 days to decrypt them. The outpost was located in what was officially dead space, a sector marked as too dangerous for habitation, which meant nobody would be looking for a ship that went there. Made the decision quickly. Set a course. We are taking our chances with the scientists instead of the authorities. It took them 9 days to reach the outpost. 9 days of running dark with minimal power, with the Pathfinder limping through space like a wounded animal. 9 days of hopping that nobody detected them. 9 days of quiet desperation. The outpost was small, almost invisible. It looked like a pile of debris at first, but as they got closer, realized it was deliberately made to look that way. The scientists had built it in pieces, scattered them across 3 separate structures, and connected them with tunnels that would be impossible to spot from orbit. There was no response to their hails at first. Was starting to think the outpost was abandoned when a voice finally came through the communications channel. It was speaking and translated. Identify yourselves. What are you doing in restricted space? Took a breath and transmitted the entire story. Everything. The solar flare, the crash, the discovery of, the rejection from every government. He told them who was and what he knew. He told them that Screw had chosen to help instead of abandon, and now they were criminals in the eyes of the Terran colonial authority. There was a very long silence. Then the voice came back. We are sending you access codes. Proceed to Bay 3. Welcome to Sanctuary. We have been waiting for a long time. The docking process took an hour. When the Pathfinder was finally secure in the bay, the airlock opened. 3 in white laboratory coats entered. They moved immediately too. One of them embraced him, something had never seen do with each other before. You are alive, the scientist said. It was a female, older than, we thought you were dead. The government told us you were dead. I was, said, for a very long time. The older scientist turned too. She studied him for a moment, then extended her hand. I am doctor, I run this facility. You are the human who saved him. I am, said. He took her hand, her grip was firm. I am Captain Hayes, I have to be honest with you. I do not know what happens to us now. Your government is looking for us. The Terran Colonial Authority is looking for us. We are wanted criminals in at least 3 different jurisdictions. Yes, Doctor said. That is exactly what we hoped for. Did not understand what that meant until she showed him to the main research station. The facility was more advanced than anything had ever seen. Banks of computers lined every wall. Scientists of multiple species worked together at different stations. Not just. Saw and even an engineer working side by side. We have been waiting for this moment for 5 years, Doctor explained. We have been gathering evidence of corruption in multiple governments, evidence of secret agreements to keep humanity contained. evidence of deliberate violations of treaties, evidence that would shake the foundations of galactic politics. But we needed a witness. We needed someone from inside who could confirm what we suspected. Is that witness? But he has been asleep, said. His files remain, Doctor said. His research remains. Most importantly, he remains alive. A living scientist who can testify to what he knows. The fact that you saved him, a human saving and proves our point. It proves that cooperation is possible, that understanding is possible. Felt the weight of it settling on him. They were not refugees anymore. They were soldiers in a war that they had not known they were fighting. Over the next 3 days, and the other scientists prepared a message. They compiled all the evidence they had gathered over the years. They created a package that included data about the Terran colonial authorities' corruption, about trade agreements that deliberately weakened human economic power, about secret protocols designed to prevent human advancement. And they included testimony. His voice, recorded in the station, telling the truth about what the government had done, about how they had left him to die, about how a human captain had saved him anyway. "What are we going to do with this?" asked. "We are going to broadcast it," Doctor said. "To every major network, every news organization, every citizen of every species. We are going to make it impossible for the authorities to hide. We are going to force transparency." "They will come after us," said. "Yes," Doctor agreed, "but they cannot silence everyone at once. The truth, once released, cannot be taken back, and more importantly, there are others like us. Peaceful scientists, philosophers, people who have been waiting for someone to speak the truth. Once the message goes out, they will speak too." The broadcast happened at midnight, station time. Stood on the bridge of the Pathfinder with his crew and watched it happen through the station's monitors. The message went out to 1,000 different networks. The truth spread across the galaxy like light breaking through darkness. The responses came almost immediately. The Terran Colonial Authority tried to block the message. They declared everyone at the Sanctuary outpost as enemies of the state. They issued warrants for arrest. But they could not stop what was already spreading. Scientists on Altair began to question their government. Citizens on a dozen worlds demanded to know if the treaties had really been violated. People in the colonies, people on human worlds, people everywhere began to wake up and ask questions. 3 weeks after the broadcast, the first rescue fleet arrived. But it was not from the Terran Colonial Authority. It was from the Sanctuary Alliance, a coalition of peaceful scientists and citizens who had been waiting for someone to break the silence. They had come to protect the Pathfinder. They had come to protect. They had come because sometimes the truth really was more powerful than authority. Stood on the bridge of the Pathfinder and watched the rescue fleet dock with the station. He thought about the moment when he had decided to save an alien from a dead ship. He had not known then that it would change everything. He had not known that the choice to show mercy would ripple across the entire galaxy. He looked at his crew, was crying but she was smiling, was shaking her head in disbelief. Aaron was just standing quietly, absorbing what they had done. Entered the bridge. The alien moved to stand beside, and they both looked out at the stars together. "What happens now?" asked. "I do not know," said. "The authorities are still angry. There will be trials and hearings and complicated legal things, but we are not alone anymore, and that changes everything." "Will you go home?" asked. "Back to Earth?" Thought about his wife. He thought about the life he had been living before the solar flare. He thought about returning to normal. "No," he said. "I think my home is here now, with you, with Doctor and her team. I think my home is in this moment in trying to build something better than what we had before." Placed his hand on shoulder. The human and the alien stood together, watching the stars shine down on a galaxy that was beginning to change. The Pathfinder had been lost and forsaken in space, but it had also become the beginning of something new. It had become hope. And hope, had learned, was the most powerful force in the galaxy, more powerful than weapons, more powerful than governments, more powerful than authority. Hope was what had made him save an alien when every rule told him to let it die. Hope was what made his crew choose conscience over survival. Hope was what had changed the course of worlds. As the stars turned slowly overhead, understood that this was what it meant to be human, not strength or cruelty or conquest. It was the choice to believe that something better was possible. It was the willingness to reach out to the unknown with open hands. It was the choice to hope. But inside, he knew the truth. They had just made a choice that would change everything. They had rejected the authority of every government that controlled this sector of space. They had declared themselves enemies of order and law. And they had done it for one alien scientist who had been forgotten by the galaxy for 87 years. They will, agreed. They will try to kill me, and they might try to kill you too for saving me. I am sorry. I am sorry that you saved something that will bring danger to you. Stood up and walked to the observation window. The stars looked the same as they always did, but things were not the same anymore. They had picked up an alien from a dead ship, and now they were involved in something larger than just survival. They were part of a secret that someone wanted to keep buried. We will figure it out, said. That is what humans do, we figure things out, even when we should probably not. Moved to stand beside him. The alien and the human stood together looking at the stars, and both of them knew that nothing would ever be simple again. And it could be woken slowly. Its biological systems were hardy, designed for a planet that was much harsher than Earth. It needed oxygen, though slightly more than humans needed. It needed food, though the types were different. All right, said, start the revival process, slowly, very slowly. Over the next 3 days, the alien began to wake. Its eyes moved beneath closed eyelids. Its breathing changed. Its fingers twitched. The crew watched it come back to life like people watching a bomb that might explode. When the alien's eyes finally opened, they were confused and afraid. It tried to move, but the pod held it in place. It made sounds that were not quite words. Aaron gave it something to drink. The alien drank, and slowly the panic in its eyes faded into something more like despair. They looked at and looked back. Neither of them could speak the other's language yet, but something passed between them in that moment, an understanding. This alien had been abandoned by its own people, left to die in a ship that crashed 87 years ago, and a human captain, dying in space with his crew, had decided to save it anyway. Reached out his hand slowly. The alien watched him carefully, then reached back. Their hands touched. In that moment, something changed in the story of the Pathfinder, something that would eventually shake the entire galaxy. But Captain, protested from her station, every bit of power we use to get there is power we lose for life support. I know, said, but we are dead anyway in 30 days if we do nothing. That thing out there is something. It is a chance. We are taking it. The Pathfinder's engines hummed louder as they turned toward the distant signal. The stars shifted in the observation window. Watched them move and felt the smallest spark of something burning inside his chest. It was not hope, not yet, but it was the beginning of it.